So today we are joined by Helen Clarke, a current client of the Health and Fitness Coach. She is based in Felixstowe in the UK, 65, and having gone through the menopause, is now going into her retirement. Helen went through breast cancer in 2020, and after that, her energy massively failed. Her weight went up hugely, and she never thought that she'd ever make the changes that she wanted to in her body, especially considering she's been trying to lose weight since she was an early teenager. During the program and time at the Health and Fitness Coach, she's actually gone from a size 18 all the way down to a size 12. Her energy has skyrocketed, and she's now working on toning and physique building, having reached her weight loss goal a lot quicker than she ever expected to. In today's special episode, we talk to Helen about her specific tips and tricks as a client for what worked for her in terms of making these changes, and different guidance that she would recommend to other women thinking about making the same changes. So if you're looking to lose weight, tone up, or if you have anything in your head that says, you know what, I can't do it because I'm too old, or I've gone through menopause, or I've had cancer, well, Helen's going to prove you otherwise. So listen in to hear her special ideas, tips, tricks for everything that has worked for her. Enjoy. Now, Helen might not be a household name, but she is a real key character in my life over the last few months. Helen is actually a current client of ours at the Health and Fitness Coach, and we've been working since April of 2023 on all aspects of body, health, energy, weight, you name it, we've probably covered it. Helen comes from Felixstowe. She's a retired school teacher and has been an absolute joy to work with, an absolute open book. And we're really blessed to have her here today to talk to you guys about some of the experiences she's had, some of the challenges that she was facing, and her own personal tips and tricks from a client's perspective on what works to really achieve the goals that you're looking for. So first of all, a massive welcome to Helen.
Hi, lovely to be here.
Wonderful to have you. Now, first of all, why don't you give the audience a little insight into what it was that you were struggling with specifically? So before we met, there were probably various different areas that you were finding challenging. So maybe you could go through a few of those and how they were having an impact on your life.
Yeah, of course. So the thing that really drove me to get help was the impact of my cancer treatment. So I had breast cancer, diagnosed at the end of 2020 and treatment throughout 2021. I finished my radiotherapy in June, July 2021, and fully expected my energy to come back and to start feeling better. And I just didn't. I felt I had no energy, incredibly frustrating, didn't really know what to do about it, and found it hard to actually get advice on what to do. So I got fairly desperate. I put on a lot of masses of weight, and my self-esteem went really, really downhill. At the same time, I was coming up to retirement from school, and so I was desperate to actually be in the best shape possible for that retirement. I went through the phase of thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'll retire, and that's it. You know, it'll just be, sorry, it'll just be, that'll be it. I won't be able to do any of the things I planned to do. So, yeah, that was what drove me. I thought I really, really need, and on top of all that, I was diagnosed as being pre-diabetic as well. So I had that challenge on top of everything else. Yeah, so I was in a fairly low place, to be honest.
So considering you had gone through cancer, you're pre-diabetic, if we can share 65, coming up to retirement, there's a lot of stereotypes there, probably cliches that people would say, I'm too old, or it's too late for me, or I'm retired, so well, who cares anymore? So for you, were there any stories that you were telling yourself or limitations that were causing you a mental block to making the changes and getting the help with that?
It's a difficult one, because on the one hand, I was quite public about my cancer and what I was going through with the treatment, and I got a huge amount of support from my friends, and a lot of whom, unbeknownst to me, had been through cancer and it hadn't come back, and they were going on to lead very fulfilled lives. So I had a lot of positive examples in my life, but I think in my head I had a huge number of barriers to overcome. Um, I'd always had a fairly negative self-image of myself, and obviously with the weight gain, that just got worse and worse. And I found it very difficult. I got to the point where I thought, well, what's the point? Nothing I do ever makes any difference. I tried various diets, I tried various regimes. I had a really big bust, which after menopause had just got bigger and seemed to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I had a lot of issues around that, and thinking, well, whatever I do, I can't get rid of the image I have. This is it. This is what I'm going to look like now. And I think with the cancer treatment coming on top of all that, it was very difficult to overcome that self-image and find a way I could move forward, certainly by myself.
Mm. Mm. You mentioned the words self-esteem, and I think probably that's a big issue for a lot of women, even if we are hiding it very well with a mask in public. How is that lack of self-esteem about your body and the way you felt about yourself having an effect on other areas of life, your relationships at home or relationships with friends? You're into theatre, your relationship in terms of presenting yourself as a director. How did the self-esteem have an impact on those other areas?
It definitely affected my confidence. I've always felt driven to do theatre, and I love directing, but I was doing it with looking back, what I can see was a huge lack of confidence in myself, in my artistic decisions. As for presenting myself, I mean, I just looked like a sack, really. That was it. It was cover up, cover up, cover up. And along with that, so I always had very shapeless clothes on, but I was also always in a corner, always on the side of the room. I was never in the middle of the room, even in my own productions. That was quite common. I didn't have the confidence to go and talk to people or present myself as a person that they would want to talk to, really.
Mm. Mm. So you mentioned obviously sort of post-menopause, the bust came on, post-cancer, a lot of weight came on. Was your body something that you'd only struggled with from the menopause and after, or has your body weight, body image been something that you struggled with before for your sort of since teenage or childhood?
No, it dated back a long time before the menopause. So I'm quite short, and I'm actually quite short-waisted as well. So when my bust came in, it came in very quickly in my mid-teens, perhaps 14, 13, 14, quite spectacularly, completely changed my image of myself. And I just couldn't cope with it at all. And I didn't really have anyone to turn to talk about this, to deal with it. So I had very, very heavy breasts. I didn't know how to dress. I didn't know how even to get a supportive bra. I mean, my relationship with my mother wasn't really that one in which I felt I could confide in her, and she would kind of give me emotional support on that. So I struggled to deal with it by myself, really. I had some quite cutting comments from probably not my mother, but certainly my grandparents about how I looked. And I just sort of sucked it up, soaked it all up, and just really went into myself as regard my image completely. So I've been struggling since puberty, I'd say, with my image. and then menopause just kicked in and made it even worse.
Yes, all of these hormonal challenges that we face as women throughout our lives, and they just like to compound upon each other. So you mentioned the word diet as you were talking earlier, and you tried various diets. Now, I've compiled so far a list of 146. I'm sure there are more. I haven't come across all of them yet. So, obviously, before you started on a program that has led to ultimately the weight loss at this time, what have you tried throughout your years that didn't necessarily work? Because here we still are. What are the various different things that you've tried to take part in before?
I think in my early years, I did a lot of calorie counting. And so that still has emotional reverberation for me, the idea of counting calories, although I'm embracing it much more now. So calorie counting, weighing myself in, when I chose to weigh myself with you, for example, I decided to weigh myself in kilos because I had so many negative connotations with stones and pounds, imperial. It was just such a negative area for me. So I thought I'd switch to kilos without any emotional baggage, and it's worked really well for me. So that, there was a very basic calorie counting that went on for a long, long time. But more recently, I think the most recent diet I tried before coming to you was the 5-2 diet, where you would fast for 2 days and then eat reasonably normally the other 5. I kept that up. I had some results, and then I was teaching on a fast day and I almost collapsed in the classroom, and my teaching assistant said, for goodness sake, Helen, just get into the staff room and eat something. And so that was when I thought, I can't do this. That really, really didn't work for me. Well, I lost some weight, but it always went back on again because I fundamentally wasn't changing the way I ate in any long-term way. I didn't really understand what I was doing, I think.
Unless we want to fast 2 days a week for the rest of our life, these kind of things are never going to be long term. So at least you didn't quite get to the point of collapse in front of the school class, but it sounds like you got very, very close to that. So having tried various things pretty much since teenagehood, going through decades of this search for something that would give you a positive body image, what else other than quote unquote weight loss did you feel you needed? What else did you feel was the missing link that you were searching for in working with someone on your body and how you felt about your body?
Well, I think for a long time working with you, I didn't really admit that what I wanted was to look better. It took me a long time to actually admit that because I got to the point where I didn't feel I ever could. So I think the big issue, the big spur was my energy levels coming up to retirement, having a lot of things I wanted to do. We had a holiday booked to Canada to see my daughter and her husband. 3-week holiday, very active, very demanding. And it was fear that I wouldn't be able to realize all the plans I had for retirement. So that was a very, very real spur to doing something. And I think I told myself that was it, rather than anything to do with what I looked like, that was what I wanted. And it was, but I soon realized there was a lot more to it. So the energy loss was definitely the thing that was actually extremely scary coming out of radiotherapy, just to have a total lack of energy. And it took so long. So this was about a year afterwards that I actually did something about it. I'm still struggling.
So we met, and it was I still remember the first conversation. How did you come across us? How was our encounter? Do you remember how we first came into contact?
Yeah, it was through a mutual friend who I had known for a very, very long time, taught some of my children. And she had long COVID, and I had post-cancer energy loss, I suppose you could call it.
Mm.
We were both in exactly the same boat. So we had an evening round at hers, and a lot of talking about how we felt. Now, that wasn't actually the time that it wasn't after that I contacted you, but the next time I saw her, I thought, blimey, what's happened to you? I'm still struggling. Look at you. You've lost weight. You look marvelous. Your eyes are sparkling. You're a completely different person. This was probably, I'd say, about 6 months later.
Mm.
What have you been doing? What have you been doing? She said, well, come round and I'll tell you. So we had another evening. And she said, well, I think you need to contact Rita. And she told me what you'd done for her. And I could see, I think because I could see so clearly, and because we were very much in the same position at one point, and how much she'd moved on, whereas I was still struggling. That after that, it was an absolute no-brainer. And the rest is well, here we are.
Absolutely. So before we look at some of the practical tips and tricks that we can maybe share with our listeners today that you've learned along the way, as an overall, and obviously I will remind listeners, Helen is still with us. We are still going through this, and we have reached the weight goal. We're now looking at, physique and toning and all of those wonderful things. So in the journey so far, what have you found is different to the way that we've maybe approached things this time as opposed to what you've tried in the past?
Oh, it's been, I think holistic is probably the word. It's not just about losing weight. It's not just about even getting fitter, getting your energy levels up. I mean, we've talked about things I never dreamt I would be talking to you about, like my early relationship with my mother, for example, which has had a massive effect on me. More recently, we spoke about my relationship with my father, my attitude to myself, to my body image. And I think it's making those discoveries or having those realizations that has helped embed everything we've been doing. So everything we've done, I have known why I've been doing it. You have helped me understand why I've had problems in embedding certain elements of it. And I think it's that all-round care about what I'm trying to do that I've got from you, and that understanding about why I might be struggling at times, that has helped me through, that has helped me carry on and pick myself up and just readjust things and keep going but with a slightly different on a slightly different tack, which works better for me. It's a very personal program to me, I think, that I have got, which has addressed all my issues and hopefully made the most of my strengths as well. So I think that is absolutely why it's worked.
Fabulous. Absolutely. Holistic and personal is key. Yeah. Your body, your mind, your emotions are all unique to you, although some of the struggles that you've talked about probably resonate with a lot of women. So to give some context before we look at some of the practical things that we've done together, what have you achieved from you said you've obviously been using kilos, so from a kilo perspective, what have you practically achieved in terms of weight loss, the changes you've seen in your body, the changes you've seen in your energy? What are all of the successes that you've had so far?
Okay, well, the weight loss is straightforward. I mean, when I came to you, I was probably between an 18 and a 16, a size 18, size 16, and I'm now size 12, which is incredible to me. I still can't get over it. I never ever thought I'd be a size 12. I feel very comfortable with where I am now as well. It feels like the right size for me. I feel very happy in my body now. So that's the weight loss. The other element, what else have I achieved? Well, I exercise. I'm a person who moves. I mean, honestly, I think because of my issues around my bust, I was very active. I played hockey for the school, and then before the boobs came in, that all changed. So from being a very active person, I'd turned into a person who didn't jig around, shall we say, for any reason, because I was too self-conscious about the effect that had on the jiggling boobs. I never. So I was very, very inactive. But now, what do? I exercise every day. I walk 10,000 steps a day. Well, I walk and I jog 10,000 steps a day. I go swimming. I do lane swimming twice a week. I occasionally do sea swims. I've had my bike fixed, and my husband and I go out on bike rides. So that's been a massive change, and my energy levels are, to say they're back, I mean, they're more than back. I feel there's nothing I couldn't tackle now. So those have been the very obvious things, that the energy levels are back, the fitness levels are right up there, and the weight loss has been fantastic. But of course, there's a knock-on effect, because I've achieved all that. My confidence and my self-esteem is through the roof, and I love shopping for clothes now. I used to hate it, but I love shopping for clothes. I think I can wear this. I can wear this. So it's kind of been a win-win situation, really.
Wonderful. I always love hearing the bitter undertones of the husbands of all the women I work with. Bought more clothes again, the wardrobe's got more in it. So I love the fact that you've got that joy back, and we can't overlook the fact that you very recently directed one of your latest plays. And you mentioned that previously you'd be trying to hide in a corner, you'd sort of try and be in the background, you didn't really want to be seen or noticed because the confidence wasn't there. How did you feel this time presenting your creation to the world?
Oh, completely different. Completely different. I dressed up every night of the run to stand in the foyer. I had a different outfit every day, which I loved. And I presented myself. I was out there. I was the director. I would go up. We had members of the press there. I had no qualms in going up to them saying, "Hi, I'm Helen. This is what I've done. I'm really proud of it," which I probably wouldn't have said before. And I was schmoozing. I was socializing, and I loved every minute of it. And the play was a huge success. So yeah, it felt absolutely brilliant. Really did.
Phenomenal. So the people listening are probably sitting there going, well, okay, this is all fantastic. You've, lost several dress sizes, confidence is high, energy is high, amazing. How did you do it? And as much as I will caveat everything with these are things that work for Helen, I will always caveat that you are individual. So anything that, maybe myself and Helen discuss about what we've done together might not always be exactly what works for you. But you mentioned obviously fasting previously, so eating so little that you're about to pass out. So from a food or nutritional perspective, what have you done differently this time? What have you learned? What's worked? Did you ever have to starve yourself? Talk to us about the changes in food that you've made that have had such an impact.
Yeah. Well, I think the really helpful thing is that the way you introduce things with diet and movement and everything is just one step at a time. So that was a definite help. I didn't feel I was plunging into this program that I had to take everything on board all at once. The idea that I'd think about what I had for breakfast one week, then the next week I think about what I had for lunch, and the next week it would be what I had in the evening. And that really, it's like, how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time? It was very much like that. So it was manageable steps, and I felt I was achieving it every step of the way, which was great. So what have I done? I think the big thing with diet is I've got so much more understanding of what I eat, when I eat, the makeup of my food. So I understand how protein works. what foods contain carbohydrates, what carbohydrates do in your body, why you need them, when the best times to eat are, how to spread your food out during the day. I mean, honestly, so much. It just seems so far removed from where I was before. Whenever I got tired, I think, oh, I'll just have a bar of chocolate. That'll perk me up. You know, you look at as so many misconceptions. So I feel I enjoy cooking anyway. I'm someone who's always enjoyed cooking, and I've actually relished the challenge of um, trying new recipes, getting a better balance. Um, Portion sizes, of course, is another thing. So, understanding the makeup of my meals, how much protein I need, how many carbs I need, um, you know, how much fat, what sort of fat. Um, yeah, gosh, I could go on and on really. You know, and I know there's still more to learn, but um, I feel educated, I think now, and in charge of what I eat, which is great.
Amazing. And probably one of the biggest misconceptions that I come across is, right, well, I need to completely restrict, never enjoy my food, eat boiled chicken, boiled broccoli and rice for the rest of my life, if I ever want to lose weight. Essentially, starvation, restriction, limitation. So at any point along the way, whilst you've lost so much weight, have you ever felt highly restrictive? Have you ever felt that you were, absolutely starving yourself? How have you felt in terms of the kinds of food that you've been eating?
I haven't felt hungry at all. It's not a question of starving. It's a question of eating the right foods rather than eating less food. At the same time, I do think I don't think I've done any calorie counting until the past couple of weeks. So, which has been a blessed relief really for my mindset. But I have focused on portion control as well. So, but that's more about balance, isn't it, really? So I would say I've never once felt hungry. And I've actually really enjoyed all the food I've eaten. There's a huge variety out there. And yeah, and lots of new foods to try. So yeah, I can honestly say it's not certainly not been boiled chicken at all. In fact, it's been some of the tastiest food I've had for a long while. It's just knowing how to create those meals, isn't it? And what you can put in there. And I've been really surprised. I have had the odd bit of chocolate and the odd drink, and it's been absolutely fine. Because I think one thing I've learned, one of the most important things I've learned is if you do have, now you wouldn't call it a mistake, so I'm not going to call it a mistake, but if you do have a treat day, or if you do unintentionally eat something that might not have what you think it has in it, that's fine. That's fine. All you do is you just get up the next day and think, right, I'll just start again, you know. So it's not a question of a blame game. There's no failure involved at all. It's all a very much success mentality. So
I
yeah.
love that. Absolutely. So that sort of shift in mindset that if I have a piece of chocolate or I have a few glasses of wine or whatever it might be, that's fine. I've enjoyed it and I can move on rather than creating a spiral of binge eating for the next 3 days that does create weight gain. It's about enjoying, accepting, owning without fault.
Definitely. And I did used to binge a lot.
Mm.
But now I've got the mindset that fine, I had that. Let's just enjoy it. It's done. I've eaten it. I've drunk it. Enjoy it. And next day is a new day, full of no mistakes.
Wonderful. I love it. So obviously with food, you mentioned mainly for you, it was portions, balance, but most importantly, knowledge and education and awareness of what food is, rather than seeing it from a purely moral perspective. This food is good and this food is bad, which is probably where a lot of people are. you have now got a huge level of understanding about the types of food, but how your body reacts and uses them as well, which is wonderful. So if we look at that knowledge and education, and we take a more overview of the movement, the fitness. Now, you've obviously just cited, exercise, swimming, jogging, walking, all sorts of different things. What have been your main learnings or successes when it comes to exercise? What have you found is key for you in terms of fitness, energy, and weight loss when it comes to movement?
I think realizing the importance of movement and the fact that it is a vital component of where I'm going and how I'm feeling and what is making all of this work. I think as well, yeah, I mean, I'm immediately thinking of my knees. So this is a little bit specific, I know, but when I first started working with you and you gave me an exercise program, I had to do some squats. And I'd always thought I had an accident which involved my knees earlier on in life. And I said, oh, I can't, my knees are very stiff. I can't, I just mustn't overburden them, mustn't use them. They're not very good. And so I learned to protect my knees for years and years and years. And so when it came to doing squats, I think I went down about an inch. And I said, that's it. That's all I can do. So Rita, being very, very discreet, said, okay. Probably thinking, goodness me, this woman. And I realized that of course I could do a squat, and I can now do a squat. So what does that mean in terms of my mentality? I think I realize I can push myself. I realize that things I thought were true about my body aren't, that I'm capable of an awful lot more than I realized, and that my age is very little to do with what I can achieve. It might take me a little longer than people who are a little bit younger than me, but I can still get there. And so, yeah, I feel it's a whole world that's kind of opened back up to me, really, that I can run, I can jog, I can squat, which is great.
I love that. So not only does it sound like you found joy in movement again, but stop telling yourselves lies about your body, that things that aren't true. Have you found that throughout this process, psychologically, you had more limitations than you actually did physically?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And when I started and I was exercising with other people, I was just ready to give up. I didn't want to put myself out there because I didn't think I could do things. So, we'd be doing some runs and things like that. And kind of, because I just started, I was right at the back. And I thought, well, I'm not doing this again. But now I think, well, it doesn't matter. I'm just doing it I've got my own path. I'm improving. I can do these things. My brain was telling me I couldn't. It's a way of self-protection, I think. I kind of not wanted to expose myself to looking silly, or not wanted to be trying something in front of other people that I couldn't do. And now I really, really don't care about that half as much, because I've got confidence, I think, in myself and in my progress. In a way, I know I will get there in my own time and in my own way. There are still some bits of exercise I enjoy far more than others, but that's it. It's probably the same for everyone, isn't it? But I'm happier now that sort of thinking, yeah, I'll go on a beach and do a workout with a lot of women who are in their 40s. That's fine. I can do that. So that's definitely psychological. Definitely psychological. Yeah, which is, I have so much to thank you for, really, for that. It's been brilliant. Yeah, been good.
So that psychological aspect, obviously, working with a coach on a one-to-one basis, as you have been so far, is very different to doing something which focuses purely on food or purely on exercise in a more sort of cookie cutter sort of system. So what was it like focusing on intimate areas of your thoughts, being vulnerable, opening up on a one-to-one basis with a coach who was there obviously ultimately to help you physically? How is it like sharing the more emotional aspects of that?
I think this has been the unexpected joy of the whole process. I knew I hoped I was going to lose weight. I hoped I was going to get fitter, but all the emotional stuff, which is key, has just been like an unexpected, um, yeah, an unexpected bonus, really. And but without it, I say that knowing that without it, I wouldn't have got where I am. So I'm not saying it was easy, particularly initially. I felt quite awkward talking about myself. But because of the atmosphere that you engender and this atmosphere of complete trust, this complete openness, I think that's really encouraged me to expose areas myself I've really only ever spoken to my husband about, and probably some I haven't spoken to him about, to be honest. And I gained so much from it. I'm so much stronger as a result. And there are a lot of demons I have laid to rest. I mean, they peek out sometimes, but I just shove them back in that cupboard. So I feel I got to a point where I feel that this is a seismic change. This is a fundamental change in me as a person, rather than just losing weight or just exercising. I have changed. I don't know, maybe found myself, actually, is probably a better way of putting it. I have found this person who's been hiding away and not wanting to put their head above the parapet, for fear of being shot down. And to feel like that going into my retirement, which I had so many plans for, is brilliant, because I feel, whatever is going to sound a bit maudlin, but whatever's ahead of me, that sounds awful, doesn't it? But, you kind of get to a point where you think, right, I have so many years left. You kind of become very aware, I think, once you retire. I want these to be perhaps the best years of my life, and there's no reason why they can be now. They can't be now, sorry. So that mental shift has been absolutely key. Yeah. And slightly unexpected.
So with the diets in the past, and just as a little fact for those listening, 95% of people, not just women, people who lose weight put it on again, plus around 10% additional within the space of 24 months. And obviously, the words that you just used around a fundamental shift in who you are, in lifestyle, in identity, how do you feel about the future in terms of your body, your energy, everything you've learned? Do you have any fears that it's suddenly all going to go away? Or do you feel that this time you've really made the shift that's going to stick?
Oh, I think it's going to stick. I think it's going to stick. I'm really excited about the future. Really. It just feels like it's all opening up in ways that I never thought it probably could. No, I know this is here to stay now, and it's because of that mental shift and a new image of me in my head. This is who I am now. This is, I'm a person who exercises. I'm a person who cares about what they eat and who knows about what they eat. I'm someone who is confident and bold and has plans for the future and doesn't stand in a corner anymore. So it's really, really exciting. And I can't wait to see where it takes me. But I know I'll be a size 12. and I know I'll be running and walking every morning. So yeah, as well as the rest.
Wonderful. I love that. Excited about the future is phenomenal. So to wrap up, we've obviously spoken about the goals that you have achieved. So we obviously wanted to be a size 12. We had a specific weight goal, and you've done all of that, and you're not even at the end of your program yet. So what are you, because obviously we're going to have to do a follow-up call once we get to the next goal. What is it that you're working on at the moment? Because a lot of people will think, well, hey, I've lost the weight. Isn't that the only goal? And you've obviously gone through that, and you're now in this next stage, this next level. So what does that look like for you, and what are you working towards?
Sure. So my diet is no longer aimed at weight loss. It's aimed at weight maintenance now. So that's a slight shift. So I'm eating slightly more, but I'm still eating in the right way. At the moment, I'm focusing on the amount of protein in my diet. And that's because my movement program is changing as well. So having lost a lot of fat, basically, I now have to look at my body and think about what I want that body to look like. So the weight loss has revealed some areas of rather big, at my age, obviously, I have a little bit of crepey skin. I have a belly, and I would like to do what I feel I can to tone up. So it's all about toning. It's all about body shape now. And it's all about embracing whatever that brings with it. So my movement will change, and my diet is already changing. Yeah. So there's always new things to discover, isn't there? There's always more you can do for yourself. So I'm now in that phase. I've never got this far before. I mean, I've never even got the weight loss done before. So this is all new territory, and it's really interesting to see, to see where it takes me. Yeah, it'd be lovely to be able to get my upper arms out, and and not worry about bingo wings and stuff like that. So it's, again, it's a shift, but it's an exciting one.
Amazing. So we're in the next chapter. We're in the toning and sort of physique building chapter for Helen. So we will absolutely do another catch up in a few months and see where we're at in that level. So finally, if you were to share one message with the women listening, maybe the women listening who are at home thinking, you know what, I've been through cancer, I can't ever lose weight, or I'm post-menopause, I can't ever lose weight, or I've always hated my body, why would that ever change now? The women sitting at home who have maybe reluctantly resided themselves to a life of sad acceptance of something that just isn't what they want. What is the message that you would like to leave them with?
Oh gosh, get out there and do it. I mean, you owe it to yourself. You can do it. If I can do it, you certainly can. Because I was someone who didn't exercise, who's coming up to retirement, who had very low self-esteem, and all I do now is look back and think, why on earth didn't I do this sooner? What a waste. What a waste of all those years when I had this image of myself that I thought was the only one, and it's not. There's so much more you can do. Just put your mind to it. Just, be determined to overcome the obstacles, but then, you've got your coach there to help you do all of that. Really, really get out there, and yeah, just be kind to yourself, treat yourself, spoil yourself, pamper yourself, whatever, but however you think of it, but it will be the best thing you could possibly do.
Love that. So the message that we are leaving everyone with today is be kind to yourself and take action. Don't think, don't stop, don't procrastinate, because like Helen said, you never know how many days are ahead of you. So make them the best quality you possibly can.
Absolutely.
So absolute pleasure talking with you, Helen, today. And thank you for giving up your time to share your story. And thank you to everybody for listening. And if you do have any questions, then obviously feel free to reach out to us at thehealthandfitnesscoach.com. I'm sure that we can help you at any step of the way. So well done to Helen for all of the goals that she's mastered so far. And I look forward to seeing you in our next session.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a wonderful day and see you on the next episode.